This afternoon, I get to speak with the founder of Uplift Film Festival, who is the president of Great Wonders Productions. Steve Head, how are you today?
I'm great, Robert. I'm glad to be with you today.
Well, I'm excited for your film festival in, I guess, the Quad State area of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas for the Great Wonders Uplift Film Festival. You guys do films that are to inspire audiences and be more uplifting in how you present the films. How did this all come about for you?
Well, actually, we actually went all 50 states this year. This is our third year.
Mhm.
The first 2 years, we wanted to kind of cut our teeth and not get too over our head. We focused our first couple of years on the four-state region: Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. We wanted to have a narrow funnel of films that were PG-13 and below, uplifting, inspiring, family friendly, and we were very successful the first 2 years. And this year we're going to open it up to all 50 states, and we're going to look for the same kind of content.
And so, how did what was the catalyst to have this film festival in particular?
Well, when we decided to do this, I looked. And I think there was like 1,000 film festivals in the United States. It was a large number. And there's really a film festival for everybody. We're about 2 hours from Kansas City. We're about an hour and a half or 2 hours, hour and a half from Fayetteville, Arkansas, a couple hours from Fort Smith, Arkansas. There's festivals around us that are kind of broad, and they accept international submissions. So we thought, how could we be different than people that are a couple hours away? That's why we decided to look for films that kind of make a difference. Um, you know, there's a power in cinematic storytelling, and there's films that have rocked the world. We're looking for storytelling that can inspire people to just be better human beings. Um, Give people motivation to get involved in their communities or do something beyond what they thought they could do. Um, so we're looking for films that would just make people walk out of the theater and think, wow, that gives me ideas on how I can personally have a happier life or whatever. So when you narrow it down to that, of course, you're cutting out a lot of submissions, and like I said, I use the term a narrower funnel. The first year we had close to 100 submissions for our four-state area, and out of that, we found some really great films. We were just blown away, and I gotta say, it's really an honor. I hope every film festival feels this way. It's really an honor to be able to screen the creative work of filmmakers, independent filmmakers. There's a lot of work that goes into making a film, and we work really hard to watch every film from beginning to end. We don't just watch the first 5 minutes and make a judgment. We watch the entire project, and we we um, we've come across filmmakers that are just great people trying to do some wonderful things. And this year we're starting to get submissions. We got submissions already from New Jersey and Montana, different places around the country. And it's really exciting. It's a privilege to watch people's work and try to evaluate that and decide which ones are the best to actually have in the festival, which will be coming up in the first week of March of 26.
Yeah, that's exciting in that you decided to go this route and it's going to be more family friendly, more positive films. Not everything's going to be some sort of depressing art house film. And I think that's something that's kind of been missing in cinema. We've had very much dystopian, nihilistic films, and I think this is a breath of fresh air.
Well, thanks. I want people in our area, especially. Uh, we're right in the belly button of the country. Joplin, Missouri is in the song about Route 66. It's a Route 66 town. We have our own um, uh, areas of interest for people that come through, like the Bonnie and Clyde hideout, we're in a really great part of the country. Um, we would love to have, when we invite people to come out to our film festival screenings and stuff, we love it to have them bring the whole family. And so, being that we're trying to narrow it down to a more of a family-friendly screening, people can bring their kids and stuff like that and feel comfortable as a family event. And at the same time, we don't want to end films that maybe are a little bit above PG-13. So we always say, if it's questionable, let us look at it and see how it fits into the content. So we've made exceptions to our rules here and there with some films that we thought these are really good, and the maybe the content was a little bit more mature, but it fell into a storyline that had a great message. So, we try to work real hard to give a break to all filmmakers on their content. But again, we're looking for things that the entire family can come in and watch and feel comfortable and go out feeling like they were inspired or motivated. Our nonprofit organization also makes some films. We started 2.5 years ago. We're in our third year. In year one, we produced a documentary called The Butterfly People, and it was a film about the Joplin tornado and the phenomena of kids being encountering angelic beings, so to speak. Anyway, we produced The Butterfly People that year. This year, we're working on two more films as an organization. We're doing one called Some Place to Be, and it's about foster care and parenting and adoption. It's a real inspiring story, or true life story of a family from Kentucky that adopted a baby that was left in a shoebox at the fire department. Um, we have another film we're doing called The Redemption of Mary Louisa McBroom, and it's a film that deals with generational abuse, addictions, mental illness, and childhood trauma, and redemption from that. So both of those films, we hope when we get them produced this year, will inspire people in various ways to let people know that they're not alone. We're trying to produce films that make a difference.
What's interesting with your Butterfly People documentary is the blue hue that's surrounding these angelic beings that were talked about are in traditional Christianity, especially in liturgical service Christianity. That's the color that permeates from the cherubim. So
Huh.
so the cherubs are the ones that have a blue hue, and the seraphim have a red hue. So it's interesting to see that that's a huge part of it. And let me double check, uh, on that if yeah. So it was the cherubim that have the blue hue to them. And so it's interesting in the film where that takes place. I wanted to make sure because I had a 50-50 chance, but I wanted to make 100% sure.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
The kids that reported these experiences, and we had adults too, but our documentary doesn't try to tell the story. We just want the people that experience this to tell their story, and then let the viewer decide what they how they react to that. We had one girl that she was in a vehicle at a Home Depot, I believe, and she was with her brother. This tornado was an F5, and an F5 is very rare. And when it does hit, they don't usually hit in a populated area. When they do, they're so destructive. So Joplin lost about 1/3 of their entire city. And I remember that night with just about an hour afterwards, my wife and I drove up to where she used to work at this hospital on the hill that got hit and I remember getting to the top of the top of the hill and looking out across Joplin, and it looked like a nuclear bomb went off. I mean, it was just total devastation as far as the eye could see. And my first reaction was, there's going to be thousands and thousands of people dead, gone. I mean, it was just unbelievable. It's hard to describe. And what happened though, there was over 150 people killed, about 1,500, 1,600 seriously wounded. And but once the it's settled, things settled down, stories started to come out from people. This one girl that's in our film with her brother, she talks. The car was completely crushed, and a big metal uh, pipe or something flew into the car and actually impaled her. She was impaled through her body, her torso. Her brother was sucked out into the tornado vortex, and he ended up coming down on his head. His brains were literally spilled out of his head. She was impaled in this car. Now, I say all this to say that she saw two people in the back seat of the car who weren't there before. And she tells about these angels that she describes that were there in the back seat. Um, I, I, I can't call her a liar. I mean, this is her story, and we had story after story of situations like this. But they're her and her brother are in this documentary, and they tell her story, their story. And there's other ones that witness these things. But it's an interesting documentary. People can find it if they go to butterflypeoplemovie.com, and they can watch it there. Um, but we're like I said, it's a film that we wanted to just go back 12 after the tornado, find these folks and have them tell their stories. One girl was very hard to find. She had actually gotten married. She had a different last name and she was living in England. But we did find her and was able to contact her, and she was going to be in Joplin for a wedding in July. So we were able to actually interview her. Hers is another very interesting story. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the whole the whole documentary, but it was a great film project to work on, and we're very proud of it. It's won some awards, and we're real proud of it. We're really excited about the two projects we're working on this year. We hope to have both of those finished by the fall, and maybe even preview those at our film festival this coming year.
That would be fantastic. And how was the rebuild of Joplin? Like, is it still under construction? You know, because it takes a while to rebuild an entire city that's been devastated like this.
You know what's amazing? Joplin basically came back to life and was, I'll say, pretty much rebuilt within a year, year and a half. That's a short period. The people from FEMA came in and they observed something in the Joplin and the people of Joplin that they had probably never seen before. The people of Joplin did not really wait for FEMA. We just as a community rolled up our sleeves and started taking care of each other. Um, the faith community, the churches, and other organizations started working and getting crews out to. It was just an amazing process. Um, I don't. We blew FEMA away. They really hadn't seen anything like it. But there's a second documentary that this worked with had produced. That's why we found him. He produced one called Steadfast, and it was a documentary he produced right after the tornado back in 2012, I believe. And so his name is Greg Fish. Great documentary producer, and so we worked with Greg on the Butterfly People as a follow up. But Joplin was very unique. We did have people come from all over the world to fly in and try to help us recover from that tornado. And it's quite a story. It's very inspiring. And Joplin's a role model, I think, for how communities can work in a disaster. And I think people are still taking lessons from how we handled it.
Wow, this is absolutely incredible. And it really does live up to the title of Uplift Film Festival.
We try. We have so many films in the last couple of years that were submitted that are, like I said, they just blow us away. We didn't realize that some of these filmmakers were so close to us, actually, but we're meeting more and more from different states and different places. And filmmaking, once you go through a film festival and you meet the other filmmakers, you develop friendships and relationships that are long lasting. What we're doing this year, year two, we decided we wanted to bring in somebody that would be a professional filmmaker that might be able to be inspiring and speak at our awards banquet about the kind of films that we're looking for, uplifting and inspiring films. So we found Kevin Downs, who is the founder and CEO, I believe, of Kingdom Story Company, which is a faith-based film production company that have many films under their that have been big hits, big financial successes. They have a partnership with Lionsgate for distribution. We brought Kevin in as our film featured speaker and guest this last year. Kevin was able to, he did a workshop for our filmmakers, like a Q&A. And so filmmakers sat around and they were able to ask Kevin all kinds of questions and get feedback from him. It was so positive. We even were able, at that time, we weren't able to say what film it was, but we were able to screen his film, The Unbreakable Boy, before it actually hit theaters. And that was a kind of a neat thing. And at the awards banquet, the filmmakers loved hearing from Kevin. I asked Kevin, I said, you know what would be really cool? Could we maybe give out an award next year called the Kevin Downs Award? He says, let me think about that. And later he got back to me. He says, you know, I think if we did something like that, I would rather it'd be called the Kingdom Story Company Award. And so he's going to let us give out an award called the Kingdom Story Company Award this year to a film that we would hope matches up with the ethos of the Kingdom Story Company and their library of films. And we look forward to that. Kevin's going to be back as our featured guest this next year. I think just the vibe we had with filmmakers this last year, I just cannot wait for this next year because we'll be able to just learn from last year, or just have a film festival that's just 10 times better than we had last time. So we look forward to Kevin coming back. We look forward to connection with him. I know whoever wins that award, if we find a film that's worthy of that, they're going to actually get screened by the folks at Kingdom Story Company. Uh, uh, they feedback from the people there. And that's something very special because, you know, most film production companies have on their website that they do not uh, take unsolicited submissions or proper, you know, they don't really take things that are just sent in. And it's hard to get somebody in uh, the upper echelon of filmmaking to take a look at a film if you're just a small independent filmmaker. So this, I think, is a really great opportunity for somebody out there. If you've got a film that's really inspiring and uplifting and has a great message or something, we hope you'll submit it. I hope we can find those films and find a winner for that award, and who knows what'll happen. But I do know that the folks at Kingdom Story Company, their director of development, they'll be looking at it and give it some feedback. So that's something I think has some value. There's one other thing that we do also. We have something that we do every second Sunday of every month called Second Sunday Cinema. And we have a screening every month throughout the year. And we take films from the festival that were selections and winners. And we try to give them some extra screenings throughout the year so that more people from our community can come out, see their films, and just a little bit more of a spotlight. And we have people that come in for that. We had one girl that drove 5 hours one way just to be on hand when we screened her film at Second Sunday Cinema. And so we put her up in a hotel. Yeah, we felt that if you're going to drive 10 hours, you know, we'll put you up in a hotel. But it's a big deal for a filmmaker to see their film up on a big screen. And we have a great theater called the Route 66 Theater. Wonderful venue for people to see their film up on the big screen.
That's wonderful. And you were able to fly her in, make her a part of this thing, put her up. You know, it's just something that made it extra special.
Well, she actually drove. She
Oh, I'm
drove
sorry, you
in.
drove.
She
Yeah.
drove 10 hours. But yeah, but we did feel like, wait, if you're going to drive that far to come to be with us to see your film up on the big screen, we'll buy your hotel. So we did that. It was a short film actually called Birdie, and it was a short film about being a single parent. Great short film. It had won an award. And yeah, we're looking for things like that. We've already got some cool submissions already, and I look forward to more.
What's something that you look forward to when a filmmaker submits their movie to you and you just sit there and go, okay, this is the one that this is the type of film we need in our festival. It's not whether it's, you know, uh, paint by numbers or something to the extent of, this is something we're interested in, but it might not fit. Like, how do you guys decide on what goes where?
Well, looking for, we had a film this last go around from a filmmaker. It was called Sugar House. And when we got it, and all of our judges, we have several judges that watch all of these, and everybody that watched it had the same reaction. This is it. This is a good one. This is great. And when you're like I said, when you're looking for a certain kind of film, a certain genre of film, out of all the vast films that are made every year, you're looking for a small category of film. When you do find that, it's kind of like a treasure hunt. And when you find that treasure in a film, you go, oh, wow, this is it. And we all reacted the same way. And it was such a joy to them come in and get their film screened and meet them and there's so many filmmakers that we've gotten the pleasure to know, but it is really an honor to be on the receiving end of the work, the art of these filmmakers, and to be able to view their art and to try to make a judgment call. And there's a wide variety. In any film festival, you're going to have some films that are their first attempt, or maybe it was a low budget, maybe, you know, but we're looking for the content, the message. Um, it's a privilege, and it's hard to not choose everybody's film, but we try to look for the best, and we try to cut some slack here and there when we can, if it's got a really great story or something. So it's a fun process.
I'm glad that you guys put the effort into it. And like you said, you don't watch the first 15 minutes, click off, and go, all right, that's good enough.
Oh, you can't do that. If you do that, sometimes you miss something that was it takes time sometimes for character development of the characters in the film. Um, I know there's film festivals that can't possibly. I mean, I shouldn't say this, but they probably can't possibly watch every film, every minute of every film. But we try to do that. We try to. If somebody took the time and paid the fee to submit their film, no matter if it's even hard to watch. We'll watch the entire thing and try to judge it on the overall content of the entire film, not just the first 5 minutes or the last 10 or whatever. So well, there's no fast forwarding on our judges.
I like that. What's something for someone that's trying to submit their film to your festival that you would like them to take into consideration? Is it, how uplifting is it? How spiritual is it? Like, what's the, you know, aspect in trying to make it work for everyone?
Well, Great Wonders Productions is not a faith-based nonprofit. That being said, we have a board of directors and a group of people that have a we have a mission about what we want to do in the films that we produce. We really are all about making a difference in the world through cinematic storytelling. And how I'll give you an example. One of the films we're working on, I told you earlier about, called Someplace to Be. When people watch that, I want them to walk out going, that was really moving, and we have an extra bedroom. We're in a position, maybe we could be foster parents. And maybe we could look into doing that. If our film creates some new homes for even one kid, it was worth doing. See, I grew up in a very difficult situation. The movie called that we're working on called Redemption of Mary Louisa McBroom is really a story about my grandmother who had mental health issues. She was in an insane asylum in 1933 to 1940, 1934 to 1943, where she committed suicide there. I never knew her. She died long before I was born, but she was the mom to my dad. And so her story impacted my father, and my mother's parents impacted hers, and so on. And I grew up in a very dysfunctional, difficult home where there was a lot of childhood trauma. So this film covered, and I hope when people see that film, when they walk out, that they'll be inspired to maybe get some healing for their own story. But part of what I was going to tell you was there was a lady, a family when I was 15. I'm 73. And so when I was 15, we're talking 50 years ago, they took me in when I had some trouble going on in my home. I was running away from home and I was struggling, and they took me in and I lived with them for a while. And they became a surrogate family, and they showed me love, and they showed me a role model of what a family should be. The ideal. I felt like I was on a TV family. Back in the day, they had Father Knows Best and Leave It to Beaver and all these programs back in the 50s and 60s. I felt like I was with a TV family. It was so great. White tablecloth, sitting around eating dinner at the table. Anyway, Lucille was the lady's name. That was the mom. She's still alive. She's 97. She lives in Washington, up by the Canadian border. And we sent a videographer out there and interviewed Lucille. And so she's talking about when I lived with her back when I was 15. And I say that because after all these years, what she did for me when I was a kid will never be forgotten. And that impacted my entire life. And it changed the trajectory of maybe where my life would have gone. So I hope the film that we're doing about foster care and stuff, it inspires people to say, hey, I watched this movie. It made me want to get involved. I started making an impact on some kids that weren't biologically mine. And who knows what'll happen with their life, and maybe 50 years later, they'll look back and say, hey, that person impacted my life in a positive way. So, that's what filmmaking's all about. That's kind of the nature of this festival, that are going to inspire people to do wonderful things.
Right. A lot of film festivals try to become LA. They want to bring LA to X place. We're going to make this our version of Hollywood. What makes Uplift stand out from that and make it inherently Missouri?
Oh, goodness. It's hard to, filmmaking in today's environment, people decide, what do I want to make a film about? And so they look for something that is, back when I was growing up, there was a lot of westerns being made. There was films about World War II. What's going on in the culture is what a lot of people want to make films about. So right now, there's a lot of filmmakers that'll make films that have an agenda, whether it be a political agenda, religious agenda, or whatever. And so we have those submitted, and we try, like I said, we try to think, okay, is this inspiring people, that is inspiring everybody, or is it inspiring a smaller demographic with an agenda for this or that or whatever? And we try to stay out of politics. There are some faith-based films that have been submitted that have such a heavy-handed approach to their message that we didn't accept those. It's just that's just not what we're looking for. Is that being overly critical? I don't know. but we want films that have the biggest, broadest audience possible. I think that's why Lionsgate partnered up with Kingdom Story Company. They thought, you know, we're in the film business to make money. I mean, it's what Hollywood is all about sometimes. You want as big a box office success as you could possibly have. And I think Hollywood is learning that if you get too political or too this or that or whatever with an agenda, the audiences, they don't want to be preached to, whether it's a religious or a political view or whatever. They just want to be entertained. You know, they just want to be able to come a night out with a date or the family and eat the popcorn and have a good time and just be entertained. And I think we've lost that sometimes. We're looking for entertaining movies also. It doesn't always have to be an uplifting, inspiring film, as long as it's an entertaining film that has a wide general audience. I don't want people getting up in the theater and leaving the show because they were offended or whatever, you know. And that's not what we want to do to the audiences when we have screenings. We want people to be able to come and feel like, hey, I just had a great time tonight. I didn't have somebody on this side or that side trying to preach at me about whatever. And so that's kind of what we're looking to do. And I think the people that make those kinds of films that go after, I had one filmmaker um, that had, I think he felt compelled to use a lot of F bombs in the movie just because he thought that's what Hollywood does. And I just told him, I says, you know, if you'd have, your film was good without that, you know, if you'd have left that out, you probably would have had a lot broader audience for your film. And is it really necessary? Yeah, if you're doing a mafia movie or you know The Godfather, whatever, it kind of goes with the territory. But if it's just gratuitous because you think that's being creative, um, I don't know. I would love people to be able to say, can I, as a filmmaker, if I want to make a film, whatever it's about, I would love to have it have the biggest box office success it could possibly have. And if you have people saying, well, I can't really bring my kids to that because I don't want them exposed to that kind of language or that kind of content. Well, you've lost that family and those kids. Will the parents come on their own and leave the kids at home? I don't know. As a filmmaker, why do you want to make them have to make those kinds of decisions? Box office has been very tough since COVID. Uh, you know, it's not like it used to be. There's a lot of other options to watch films. There's streaming, there's, you know, all kinds of things besides going to the theater. But what's really cool about the theater is the whole experience. You know, when you walk in and you smell the popcorn, you know, it's like, wow, yeah, I'm in a theater. Especially the one we have, the Route 66 Theater in Webb City, Missouri. It's got kind of a historic feel from the 60s or 70s. You know, you kind of feel like you're going back in time. And so you go and you've got other people there. You hear other people laughing, or you hear other people around you responding. So it's a social event. Yeah, you can sit home, click on Netflix or some streaming service and watch a film at home, and you can make your own popcorn. But you know, it's still you're missing out the whole theatrical experience, and that's what we want to bring back. And in order to do that, you can't be running people off because they're going to be offended by your content or whatever. So again, we're trying to find the most broad-based, family-friendly, uplifting, inspiring kinds of films. And be able to just, if we can pack the theater, we want to pack the theater. I had one film that we screened, and I had somebody get up and leave, and I was at the back, and he says, "I'm sorry, this is not what I expected." And he had his kids with him, and I said, "I'm so sorry," you know, and I issued a refund for his tickets, and I just felt really bad. I thought I wanted him to stay and enjoy it. The film really was a film with a good story. It had a kind of a mature theme. I'm not going to go into it, so I don't want anybody to know which film it was, but it had kind of a mature theme. But it was not I don't know, maybe it was not as kid friendly as it could have been, but I hate having that happen. And I love it when audiences hang out after the film is actually over and they want to talk about it. I've had that happen too. We've had films where people stay afterwards, even after the credits, and they're like, "Wow!" and they're talking to each other about that was really good, and that feels good when you are a creative artist and you've told a story and the audience doesn't even want to get up because they're going, I want to tell somebody how I reacted. It's great. And so, we want to keep doing more and more of that. I don't know. We're probably a minority. of, I'm sure we're a small group of people when you're trying to do films in that kind of a small niche, but it's gratifying. It's great, and I've seen people cry. I've seen people walk out and go, that happened to me, or they want to talk about it afterwards to us as we're at the door. It's a great feeling when you have a film that you've done that's actually visceral.
Mhm.
You've connected to someone's heart, or directly one soul to another. I mean, that to me is filmmaking when you've actually connected with that person's heart. I mean, that's the essence to me of creating a good film. And yeah, and if they leave just entertained, that's great too. I mean, I love, like Star Wars. I mean, you go there and you watch a Star Wars film or something like that, and you leave and it was great. Did you get inspired? I don't know, but you really were entertained. And there's films that are entertaining too that can have a general audience that you can bring your kids to and have fun. And that's what we want to do. We just want to bring families back to the theater and make it a family experience. These kids today really are missing out if they've never been to an actual movie theater and all they've ever experienced is sitting home watching it on the computer or a TV or whatever. They're missing the boat.
And what is a night out like? The festival's done for the day. There's an after party. There's a gala, something to that extent. What are we looking forward to in the towns of Webb City and Joplin? To expect post screenings.
Well, what's really fun, and we've learned this through experience, is filmmakers really, really enjoy networking with other filmmakers. So if instead of a workshop per se, let's say you have a workshop about something. Instead of that, I think what we're learning is filmmakers would prefer to just have a filmmaker roundtable discussion where they could get around in a big circle and maybe there's a topic, whether it be, artificial intelligence in filmmaking or whatever it is, and go around the circle and let everybody have a little bit of time. And if they don't want to talk, they could pass, but have everybody go around and share something and give some input, ask some questions to other filmmakers. And there's that camaraderie and being with other people that are like-minded. I'm a traditional artist too. And for we're involved with my wife is an artist too. And there are art galleries, there's art associations. There's lots of opportunities for a traditional artist to go and have an art show at a gallery or an art festival, and people come and see your art. There's not a lot of that for filmmakers. I think film festivals are really the only way for cinematic artists to get the public involved and seeing their work. And so I think filmmakers, just like regular artists, they like to get together with fellow filmmakers and get to know each other, to network, to share ideas, to share what didn't work, yeah, whatever. And I think when we had the award ceremony, it was a great night, and people were really blown away. We have a venue for our awards night. It's the Henry or the Harry I'm sorry, the Cornell Arts and Entertainment Center in Joplin, and Harry Cornell was a person that was a big art supporter, and this Arts and Entertainment Center in his name is a quite a venue. And there's inside of that, there's the B Shore Performance Hall. And it's brand new. It's only 2.5 years old now. And when you're in there, it's a prestigious venue. We show clips of the nominees like you do at uh, the Academy Awards or whatever. Say each nominee has a little clip to show, is that a lot of extra work? Yeah, it is, but it gives it that feel, and people just really enjoyed it. And then we had the after party. There was a sponsor called Club 609. It's right just a few blocks from the venue, and we got together after the awards night, and we pulled tables together, and everybody wanted to sit together, and rather than separate tables, they just pull them together. Why do you want to pull all these tables together? You can't possibly talk to someone way down there at the other end, but it's the feeling of we're all together as one. It was symbolic of just all of us together in this, and you had these little separate conversations going on, but it was great. It just left you feeling like this was fun, this was great, and you exchange numbers and names and cards or whatever, and you meet people that are fellow filmmakers, and hopefully find people to help you with distribution and all those other kinds of things. It's fun. I look forward to this next one in March, 5th, 6th, and 7th, 26 will be the week we do it. We were doing it in January. We found that January in our part of the country, there's too much of a weather risk. And so both first year and second year, we had some inclement weather that kept a lot of filmmakers away that were afraid to drive in because of the winter weather. So we thought we'd avoid that this year by moving it up somewhat. So we moved it up to the first weekend of March. And so we're looking forward to this third year and having Kevin back and the Kingdom Story Company Award and all the other awards we're giving out. So we hope filmmakers will look at our festival as something that is maybe not for everybody. If you're a horror filmmaker, maybe ours is not for you. I don't know. You can enter if it's family friendly. We'll probably judge it, maybe even screen it. But again, when you're making those kinds of films, maybe there's a film festival that might be better for you. I don't know, but I don't want to exclude anybody. But at the same time, we're looking for a certain kind of genre of film, and we want our festival to be one that people see. If you get a bad review, if you're a Google business of any type, you get bad Google reviews or something. Uh, it's difficult, and if you don't have if you've got a lot of bad reviews, it can hurt your business. And we don't want to have a lot of people. We want as many people as possible to all come to the screenings and the movies and the films that we're showing and all talk highly of us, give us positive impact and reviews and uh, word of mouth in the community. The more the community talks about how wonderful this is and people talk about the films in such positive ways. There was one, like I told you, we screened that people just didn't want to get out of their seats. They wanted to sit and start talking to each other. Oh, and it was just really cool. And we don't want to lose that vibe. And the more we have of that, the bigger it grows each and every year. We hope 10 years down the road that we don't have to really worry about selling tickets. People will be looking forward to buying the tickets because they all look forward to the films that we're showing. So it takes a while to build anything in any community. So whether it's to be a big city or a smaller venue like us, Joplin's not a tiny town, but it's not a huge town either. And Webb City's a smaller venue too, but it's a cool part of a little bit of Route 66 feel, and people enjoy coming, and there's some cool things to do and see, even if you're from a bigger city.
I dig it. And are submissions open now for 2026 in March, or when do
Yeah,
submission dates
yeah.
open?
No, we turned the submissions on a couple of weeks ago, and so we've already got quite a few. We're looking for more. Had a film just this morning, a feature film. I just watched it prior to coming on with you, and it's a cool story. I'm just, when I look at a film, especially a feature film by an independent filmmaker, I'll tell you that there's a lot of work in that. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle, a lot of cogs in the whatever. I mean, there's a lot of things that to go together, and as a film producer, you've got to try to have as consistent a quality of the acting as you can, all of these kind of components. And if one or more of those components let you down, it affects the overall film, you know. And so it's really hard as a filmmaker to have a film that has all those components, whether it be the cinematography, the acting, the music, all those factors that are judged. You got to have it all together, and the higher the score, the more chance you have of getting selected and screened and nominated and a possible award. And we'd give out some nice awards. Ours are done on tile, really a nice award that you can hang on the wall and be proud of.
And where can we submit our films to Uplift Film Festival so we can make sure that people get in ahead of time?
I would go ahead and start submitting now. Why wait? If they go to filmfreeway.com/uplift film fest, that's where we are. And they can go to upliftfilmfest. Find out more about it. We would love to have as many selections as possible. Keep the judges working overtime, you know? Well, like I said, we got to watch everyone all the way through, but hopefully we won't be overwhelmed. But at the same time, we want to have as many quality films as possible. And don't be afraid if you're a small budget or even if you're a big budget. We want all types, and we are going to give out a special award for each of the states around us. So we'll have a special award for Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. So those are our regional submitters, but we're going to also have awards for people in all 50 states. And so there's awards for acting. If you've got a film that somebody has just done an outstanding job in acting, hey, we've got that category. Submit it under that category, and we'll, you know, if you're an actor trying to make it in the Hollywood or in film, it's tough. And so if you've won an acting award at a film festival, that's something you can put on your resume to help people maybe cast you down the road for another film, a bigger project. So we have some awards like that. So yeah, we would love to have people check us out. Like I said, we're not the biggest film festival on the planet, but we're really kind of cool. We're really kind of cool. I think people enjoyed the coming. They really people had a good time, and they enjoyed it very much.
I'm glad to hear it. Steve Head, Great Wonders Uplift Film Festival, upliftfilmfestival.com, March 5th through the 7th, 2026. Submissions are open from now, so get in ahead of time. We still got 8 months, 9 months, but let's make sure that you get those submissions in. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.